coming to you today with today's knife making tips 101. Um, so what we're doing here today is I'm working on the limited edition knife for 2025. This is a knife that's offered up to my stakeholders first. There will be 100 of them. They'll all be individually numbered with 05-LE, 05LE, meaning it's the fifth round of limited edition knives. And then each one will have their individual number, so 001 all the way up to 100. We just got done surface grinding these knives, getting rid of the mill scale and giving us a nice surface to... I straighten the knives and then I surface grind them, and now it's time to scribe lines to grind to. So why do we scribe lines? Oops, I just knocked over my pretty stack. So while I'm grinding, I am looking, I typically grind edge up, and I'm looking at that line and I'm going to grind down to it. And if we have a line that is centered on the blade and symmetrical, and then as we grind, it keeps our grind lines nice and symmetrical. A lot of people will just scribe a single line, and I don't do that. I scribe two lines, and I scribe them to the thickness that I'm looking to finish my edge at. So that's going to be anywhere from 25 thousandths down to 0. Even if I was going to do a 0 grind, I would probably scribe a 10, 15, 20 thou line, and then I would grind down to that, and then just finishing my grinding. So what that does is it keeps our edge centered on the blade. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. In fact, when I started, I just took a piece of scale, piece of wood, and I drilled a hole in it. And then I took the point out of a scribe. Like I got a scribe right here. You can, no, I don't. That's not a scribe. If you buy a scribe, you can buy just the points of the scribe. So I drilled a hole in some wood, stuck my scribe in it, and then it was actually off-centered. And so I would use that. I would flip it one way to get one height and another way to get another height. And you can do different things to get to the height that you're wanting. If you want to be fancy, then you want to get a height gauge. So this is a height gauge, and what it does is it sits on a surface plate. A surface plate is a granite, typically granite plate that is flat within a very, very, very tight tolerance. So extremely flat, and they stay flat, so that's nice for the most part. So this sits here on my surface plate, and with it, I can measure the thickness of the blade. And then better than that, once I know the thickness of it, I can measure these with a calipers or a micrometer, and then I can set this gauge to wherever I want it so that I'm getting scribe lines, at the proper interval. So I believe, I'm not sure if I have my calipers here. I should know what these blades are, but let's just go ahead and measure it. So we're going to set this here. Got it. So it's got two levers here. This top one you can tighten down, and then you can run this little dial, and it will gradually pick up your marker, whatever you want to call it. And then you can go the other way, and it'll run it back down. So we're all right. And then we can also zero this out. I had that wrong. Bear with me. Here we go. I'm going to lift this up. It's just clearing the knife there. And let me see where we're at. So I can see a 1. Should be about 0.115. So if I want a 20,000th edge, I'm going to be 95, 50, setting this around 47. And so then we can come and adjust it down. Adjust her down here. I believe about right there. And we can lock it in. We'll do a test mark here. Oh, next best thing. You need some die chem. You can use a Sharpie marker, but your Sharpie, when it gets hot, it's going to come off or it's going to change colors. This is a layout fluid. It's called die chem. I'll find some links and put them in the description. And I put it in this paint pen because the die chem container comes with a brush. And the brush is great if you want to splatter this die chem all over the room, all over yourself. And yeah, I hate the brush. This is a really good way to apply it without making a mess. And the brush ends up to, you know, getting die chem on the edge of the blade and all over the place. So this is really the way to do it. I go through and I mark these, which I've already done, but I'm marking them again just to get it a little bit darker of a line. And we'll go from there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. So once I get these lines scribed, it'll be time to grind these bevels in. I'm hoping to get bevels ground in. I'll clean up my flats. Then I'll sandblast my tangs. Get ready to start attaching handles. Here we go. Now I marked, you can mark the spine of the knife too. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. We're going to come in here. We're going to just do a little test mark here. Just double check. And yeah, looks pretty good. We'll see if you guys can see this or not. Probably not going to be able to focus, but let me try to turn you around here. Okay. So, focus. Well, you might have to take my word for it. You might be able to see those two scribe lines there. But that gives me two parallel lines to grind down to when I'm grinding knives. So we'll do it on this side of the blade. You're going to hold that. So we're going to come here, get my messy work surface here. Just want to hold that blade down. And there we go. Got two nice lines there to grind to, about 20 thousandths apart. And then if you want it to, you could also mark here where you want your plunge line to start and end. And then you could, you know, I'll probably end up marking it. And then all of my plunges will start and stop in the same spot, right? So I hope that this tip has been helpful for you guys. Originally, when I started grinding knives, I actually started grinding knives with the bevel down, or I'd grind off the top of the knife with the bevel facing away from me. And you can do that. You can get used to it, and it took me a while to adopt to this method of grinding, but when I did, I was glad that I did. It's very repeatable. It gives you really nice grind lines, and you know, always be open to try something new because there's a million ways to do something. And sometimes, you know, we get stuck in a rut of just doing things the way we do them because that's the way we started doing them. I know that's been difficult for me when you find a way and you get used to it. So for example, I had a guy here a week or two ago who I was showing how I make knives, teaching him, and I was telling him, I freehand grind. I have tried to use platens and work rests and all that kind of stuff, and they're cumbersome to me and they're time consuming. But yet, there's plenty of knife makers out there that make excellent knives. They're working off a work rest and they're using jigs. And, I'm probably going to try a little more uh, to get used to it because I could see the value in it. When I sharpen knives, I'm using a jigged system. So, the nice thing about a jig is it's repeatable. It's the same every time. My problem I've had trying to grind off a work rest and jig is sometimes my bevel doesn't grind where I want it to. And I know that if I have that knife in my hand, I can manipulate it and get it to grind exactly the way that I want. So, like I said, it's all what you get used to. It's be willing to try new things and give them a fair shake because everything is going to feel awkward the first time you do it. Um, looks great. I changed everything I knew about sharpening. Well, that's good to hear. Um, I'm just here to share the way that I do things. There's other ways to do things. I have been making knives for well over 10 years. I do it full time as a living. And so I, if there, I like to say if there's a better way out there, I would be doing it. I've tried a lot of different things and I'll continue to try new things. But a lot of the ways that I do things, I do them because they're fast, they're effective, and they work. So I'm going to finish marking out the rest of these blades, and then we're going to grind some knives hopefully tonight and get some things going. So appreciate you guys taking time to watch. Leave a comment if you would. If this is information that you'd be interested, if you'd like to learn how to make knives, be sure to subscribe. I'll be sharing tips along the way and bringing you guys along the journey on these limited edition knives as I make them. I'm going to do some videos on how I attach the handles, how I grind the bevels. If there's anything else you'd like to see, be sure to drop it in the comments, and I'll do my best to share with you all my secrets. Well, most all of them. Thank you. You guys have a good night. This has been Patrick Rohrman with MT Knives. Stay sharp.